So you want a review of the Russian Empire from 1450 to 1750?
And you want it in a review of about 2 minutes?
Right down there. Well, we can do that for you. First, we need to provide some background information. The Russian Empire, originally called Kievan Rus, where it was a pretty prosperous state, was a land of many lands and many peoples. The first ruler we'll need to talk about is Vladimir the Great, or Vladimir the First. Vladimir the First was the ruler of Kiev in Kievan Rus, and he wanted to make a religion for Kiev. Vladimir the First went to many places, but among them he visited Constantinople. There he decided that he would be making the religion Orthodox Christianity, and that would be Russia's religion for centuries to come. Vladimir's power on the throne would then be split between his sons, of which he had 12, one of which was important, Sviatoslav. When he seized power to the throne by killing the rest of his brothers, and most significantly, Boris and Gleb, said to be the first ever saints after their murder. Despite this, Sviatoslav never got to rule as he was exiled from Kiev.
Our next talking point is the Mongol Empire. The Mongol Empire, led by Genghis Khan, took advantage of Kievan Rus, or Russia. The Mongol Empire would control Rus by the steppes, which is Rus's method of farming. Kievan Rus would get out of Russian control with either Ivan III or Ivan the Great. Ivan the Great decided to stop paying Mongol taxes, and when demanded for it, he went to battle with the Mongols and won. Ivan the Great would go on to make life better for peasants, took over the Byzantine Empire, and became the first Russian Caesar, or Tsar. Despite this, because of Mongol control, Russia would later be behind the rest of the world in economic and technological advancements for years to come. This would set the baseline for Russian history and its future in this video.
Ivan the Terrible was the son of Ivan III, and was said to be cursed because he banished his wife since she did not want to have his kids. Then he remarried. During this marriage, he had a peaceful, non-violent era until fire spread throughout Moscow, killing his wife. This would cause him to turn on those closest to him. This led to the saying, "Closer to Ivan, closer to death." Later, Ivan renounced his throne in the middle of his rule because the boyars didn't let him do what he wanted to. While he was away, Russia was lost without a ruler and begged him to come back. But he only came back on the terms that he could be an absolute monarch and Russia did exactly what he wanted. He had his own private army to enforce his laws called the Oprichniki, which was made up of prisoners and thugs that were very violent. Under Ivan's rule, Russia was very weak. Throughout his life, Ivan had so many wives that the church stopped blessing his marriages. One day at a party for his son, they got into a dispute about his wife, and in a fit of rage, Ivan the Terrible killed his own son. This left him heartbroken, and Russia without an heir. Near the end of his life, he tried to make up for all of the people he had killed, but he soon died in 1584 at the age of 56.
The Time of Troubles was a period right after Ivan the Terrible's death, when chaos took over Russia. During this time, everything went wrong for Russia. A Polish imposter took over the throne, claiming to be Ivan's lost heir, and controlled Russia for over a year before he was eventually killed. Many others attempted to take the throne, but because their constant fighting for that they thought they deserved the throne led to an even more unstable government than there already was. Finally, people sought out a distant relative, 16-year-old Mikhail Fedorovich, in 1613. Mikhail would start the Romanov dynasty in Russia, ruling for 3 centuries and having a lasting and significant impact on the Russian Empire, one of those being serfdom. Serfdom was introduced to keep peasants working on nobles' property. This was one of the few things that carried on after the Time of Troubles. Another significant impact being Peter the Great, which would be a part of the Romanov dynasty.
Peter the Great ruled with Ivan IV, his younger brother, who was also mentally challenged and died at a young age. In a dual monarchy, both having power. When they were young, Great Sovereign Sophia, their half-sister, hid behind the throne while influencing Ivan IV's decisions, since she could not be the leader as she was a woman. Eventually, after Ivan IV died, Sophia tried to take over the throne, but was exiled from the palace by Peter the Great and forced to be a nun. When older, Peter the Great made conquests in hope of getting a path to the sea. In this, Peter the Great made 2 attacks on the Ottoman Empire, one of which failed, but the other succeeded, with the help of new naval forces constructed and guided by Peter the Great himself. Peter the Great would go on trek on a giant exploration throughout Europe with some of his men called the Great Embassy. Here Peter would go throughout Europe and learn new ideas and techniques because they were so behind. This would advance him into a European empire, but still would be behind the rest of the world until much later. When Peter the Great came back, he started to change and implement new rules to Russia to be more European, including cutting off beards, wearing different clothing for nobles, and slight lifestyle changes. Peter the Great also wanted new land connected to the sea. With this, Peter the Great attacked Sweden and gained a strip of land connected to the Baltic Sea. In this land, Peter the Great made a new city to symbolize new ideas in the westernization of Russia, called St. Petersburg. St. Petersburg would be built from the ground up instead of from an already existing city, and all construction would be personally led by Peter the Great. This new city would become a staple of Russia and their means of advancement, and made the new capital of Russia, although many citizens still believe that Moscow was. So, in conclusion, Russia started off as a prosperous state called Kievan Rus, but that would all change once the Mongols took over.
Mongols ruled Russia from the steppes and did not allow Russia to advance as well as other civilizations or empires.
This trend continued when Ivan the Terrible, third son of Ivan, took over. Ivan was a bad ruler who made Russia even weaker and did not help the advancement of the empire in any way.
Ivan caused a new age to dawn, time of troubles in which everything went wrong for Russia, including being ruled by a rival empire.
The dynasty that finally pulled Russia out of the time of troubles was the Romanov dynasty. This dynasty ended up birthing one of the greatest rulers Russia would ever have, Peter the Great.
Peter the Great helped advance Russia farther than they ever had been before. He introduced westernization and expanded the empire through conquest and trade.
Overall, the Russian Empire continued to grow despite having many setbacks in its earliest days, and they grew to be the biggest land empire the world has ever seen.
Thank you for watching.